Dune Part 2 is in theaters right now, guys, and I gotta tell you that it is an awesome movie, man. This is why we go to theaters. This is why, you know, people become movie fans, because of the spectacle that Denis Villeneuve manages to capture on film. It's grandiose, it's epic, it's got sound design where your seats will shake and rumble as, you know, things are coming down to land. It's got a little bit of a romance going on in the background there with Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya. And then if you like the first movie, guys, then of course you're going to want to see where the story goes next. This movie, despite it being like a serious sci-fi stuff, has a lot of comedy kind of mixed into it, and a lot of it has to come from Javier Bardem there. They managed to capture the spiritual side of things to the story, and a lot of it has to do with his character. And I dug it, man. I dug it all the way. So Dune Part 2, what it is about? What's it about? Oh my God, goodness gracious. Paul Atreides unites with Chani and the Fremen while seeking revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. So if you don't know this part of the story, well, we saw glimpses of it in the first movie, like Dune Part 1, where, the Atreides were awarded Arrakis to control the spice operations, and then, well, the Harkonnens come in and, well, they say, no, we're going to do it instead, and kill his father and stuff like that. So, and it's just kind of like, well, how do you attack these people now, right? Because they've got the strongholds, they've got the spice production, and Paul goes out and, with the help of the Fremen, disrupts the spice mining operation to the point where the Harkonnens now start to look bad. So they get this guy, Fade Routha, to come in and beat up on the beast, Raban, Dave Bautista, who kind of fumbled the ball there. And there's like some jockeying politically there with Princess Aurelian there by Florence Pugh as to like, what's the motives here? How can we come out of this looking on like we're the masterminds and we're on top? And Christopher Walken plays the Emperor, her dad. But man, you watch this movie right up off the bat in the opening scenes. It's just like, yes, we're on a totally different plane here. And I've described it as like watching Avatar, where it's kind of like, this is the kind of thing that you want to watch on the big screen because the scope is there. And it's just, I want to watch it again. This is the kind of movie where you're just going to be out of it and be like, let's go back and watch that again. And that's exactly what I said when I came out of watching Inception, Star Wars, The Return of the Jedi. I was just like, yes, it's one of those types of movies, guys. You got to see it on the big screen with the big sound. And I think that I'm not the only one that's going to have this kind of reaction to it. The hype is real. You know, every now and then you hear people hyping up movies like Star Wars, Force Awakens, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, let's go see the movie. Oh, it was good. Oh, was it though? Wait a minute. I think I was just bamboozled here by J.J. Abrams. Yeah, it's not one of those situations. The hype is real here, where it's kind of like, all right, you build it up in your head, you want to see some epic stuff, you want to see some monumental kind of coolness, and then you're like in the theater watching it unfold, and you're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, no, this is cool. This is awesome. I can't believe what we're watching here. Yeah. It's just a great experience. People clapped and cheered at the end of this movie. It's just a great communal theater experience, man. People will laugh, gasp all at the same time. Denis Villeneuve delivers. And when you watch this movie, it's kind of like, why can't other properties do this? James Cameron seems to do it with the Avatar movies, and now Denis Villeneuve does it with this kind of sci-fi properties. The only other people that kind of come close are maybe Gareth Edwards with The Creator and stuff like that. Ridley Scott has tried, but he's fumbled the ball a lot with a lot of his recent stuff. And it's like, well, there's been other good sci-fis like Blade Runner 2049. Well, that's Denis Villeneuve as well. He's the guy who did this, Arrival and stuff like that. He's the guy who did this. So it's kind of like, I'm sorry that I'm fanboying out over Denis Villeneuve, but my God, the guy deserves recognition for this. March 1st is when this comes out, tomorrow, guys. Early screenings tonight. And this is a masterpiece, a visual masterpiece by Denis Villeneuve. Easily in my top 5 directors, if not my favorite right now. It's hard between him and Christopher Nolan, who's my favorite. James Cameron is always going to be up there on my Mount Rushmore of directors. It's just those 3 right now are just kind of like, they're making magic, man. They're making magic. Who else is in my top 5? Yorgos Lanthimos is getting up there. I like Wes Anderson, even though a lot of people didn't like Asteroid City. It's just got a different flair. But for me, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, they're up there. They're in the top 5 for sure. And George Lucas, really? Well, hey, sorry guys, I like him as a director. So with all of that mumbo jumbo out of the way, let's take a look at the early score sheet and figure out where I'm going to be starting to land for Dune Part 2. Acting is right up there. You got 2 great performances right there from Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet. But then you got Rebecca Ferguson. And as I said, Javier Bardem is fantastic as Stilgar in this. So ensemble-wise, I got to give this a full point. And Austin Butler as Fade. My God. So subtle to begin with. And you're like, really, that's the bad guy? Can he really beat people up? And yes, he can. And it's well done. It's well executed. So it's not a 3, James. It's a 2. Yes, acting, directing, and story are out of a possible 2 points. Cinematography and score, 1 point each. Directing. I could knock it down for directing here. I could, because there's a few story pacing issues that I have that are kind of like, sometimes the story moves a little bit too quickly. It's kind of like, okay, well, that was cool to watch. And then, oh, wait, we're doing that already? So soon, so quick? And maybe that my impression of it will be different when I see it the second time around. But it felt like sometimes the story was being hurried along. And then there was some stuff that you'll be like, well, why didn't we just cut that out so we can get to more of this juicy stuff, man? But it's kind of like the directing of the actors are great. The directing of the cinematography, the visual effects, the sound design is all there. So I gotta give directing a full 2 points here for Denis Villeneuve. And the story. This is, I think, where I'm going to knock it down. Because, as I said, there are some issues in there pacing-wise. But, guys, this movie's like 2 hours and 50 minutes, but you don't feel it at all. There's just some things in there where you're kind of like, you know that there's a longer cut of this movie, and you want to see that longer cut. So maybe, I don't know. And as I said, my initial impression right now is 1.5 for the story, even though it's great. Okay. Now, I said that cinematography and score are out of a possible 1 point each, but, I got to say the cinematography is breathtaking in this. And as I said, you'll know that when in the first 5 minutes that the cinematography is just being taken to this whole other level. And it's like, wow, man. And the score, Hans Zimmer, just the way that it's used, it's just like, wow. And they don't beat you over the head with that kind of stuff. It's music that totally fits what they're trying to do, and I gotta give that props. So, what are people saying about this? Let's go over to the tomato meter. 95% by critics. No audience score just yet. Why did I see it early? I'm just a casual fan because I saw a fan event on the weekend. Most people are going to see it today, and it's not going to let you down. This is the kind of movie where it's not going to let you down, and then you will want to watch it again. So it's come down a little bit. I think it debuted with like 98% or something like that, but now it's come down a little bit because, the measured response is kind of like, well, yeah, exactly what I was saying about some of the story issues, the pacing issues. I know that some people have some issues with the way that it wrapped up towards the end, kind of like, well, That's not what would have happened. There are Dune purists out there that will have issues. Um, but I've also seen Dune purists talk about this movie already, and they forgive some of the stuff. We talked about the Harkonnens in the first movie, about how they're not supposed to be bald and stuff like that, but whatever. Like, just minor things like that don't really change the way that the characters act. The characters act appropriately. For me, I just felt this time around that the Harkonnens, especially the Baron, by Stellan Skarsgård, I felt like he was a little bit neutered. He wasn't quite as vicious. You hear, it's more implied viciousness. You hear him killing people in another room, but you don't actually get to see it. And I would have preferred to have actually seen it, because that's how grotesque the Harkonnens are. So it's like, yeah, he's gross to look at, but I didn't find him as quite as menacing as the 1980s version, the David Lynch version. I still prefer that Baron, because I prefer the over-the-top kind of stuff. This is the way that performance was given, was a little bit more menacing. This one is kind of like he hands over the reins to Austin Butler to be the menace in it, and it's good. It's good. Dave Bautista, again, he fumbles the ball trying to find the Fremen, and why is the disruption in the spice happening? He tries to do that. He fumbles the ball, and he plays that part fairly well. As I said, everybody shines. So Detroit News liked it. Your worm is waiting. Jump on and hang on tight. Washington Post. Dune Part 2 builds a world that's undeniably spectacular, compressing a sprawling, borderline incomprehensible story into an efficient narrative delivery system. Somebody who didn't like it, the Times UK. Villeneuve has taken the worst and most preachy bits from Avatar about how imperialism is fueled by exploitation of natural resources and seemingly repackaged them with an orange Instagram filter and a couple of dozen heavy brass Brahms. No, I like all that stuff. So, okay. There are going to be a few people out there who'll be kind of like, well, guys, it's too loud. It's too washed out. You can't see the face, or it's like, well, Denis does a great job of shooting it to the point where it's like he shows you different aspects where it's like, okay, we get to properly lit shots of the desert, but then there are also shots where he uses the sun and uses the exposure to like wash people out, because that's exactly what you would see. Oh, and Gideon Prime. Oh, God. Such great stuff. See, and that's where I wanted to see more of the weird stuff, like the weird body experimentation kind of thing going on. I hear people criticizing Christopher Walken, saying that he was a little bit miscast in this. I just thought it was cool to see him, like, because I thought he had sort of like pseudo-retired. But, he can still command the screen, guys. He still can. When he talks, you want to hear what he's saying. But yes, I wasn't a big fan of the way that emperor was particularly handled, because it seemed like he was kind of like fumbling his way around. But you'll understand what when you see it. It doesn't take away from the film. I enjoyed it. Corey Coleman from Double Toasted. Dune Part 2 is a true cinematic experience. It needs to be seen on the big screen. Totally agree, man. Totally agree. Richard Krause. Dune Part 2 is a big, wild vision, an answer to the stately elegance of the first film. It's blockbuster filmmaking, writ large, exciting, and laced with high stakes. High stakes indeed. There's a few storylines in there, so that you're kind of like, well, what happened to the computers? The people that are like computers, right? That have been re-engineered, brainwashed. What happened to all those storylines? There'll be small things in there that'll be kind of like, well, what that should be part of the story, but because it's already close to 3 hours, it would have been like, it just would have been too much. So somewhere out there, I feel like, yes, there's probably an 9-hour cut of these two films put together that would satisfy all of us fans that were like, kind of like, well, I wish we could have seen what happened to that character, because I really like that part of the book kind of thing. I'm sure it was filmed. I'm sure it's all in there, but it's kind of like, this is the interpretation of the story we got, and I thought that Denis Villeneuve and the cast should be very proud and happy for what they delivered for us, that you guys are going to be able to go and see this weekend. Dune Part 2, man. Thumbs up in my book. That's pretty much all I have to say about it without going into too much spoilers. Some people have said that Zendaya and Timothee Chalamet don't have chemistry. I thought that they did, and a lot of people didn't like the way that some character, like the way that kind of a relationship evolved. But I think those nitpicks will just be washed away with repeat viewings. This is something that will have to have repeat viewings because of, like, some of the story, as I said, is just sometimes it felt like it was glossed over. So maybe I just missed it when I first watched it because I was just so mesmerized. This is something that'll be like, yes, I want to watch it again. So let's wrap up this review. Watchability factor, as I said, you want to watch it on the big screen for sure. And if you like the first movie, then you want to watch this one. And would I own this in my collection on Blu-ray or 4K? Absolutely. 9.5 for Dune Part 2. If I were to knock it down to 9, the only other place that I think I could knock it down to, like, as I said, because of the story and execution problems, is there for a 9 out of 10. But it's kind of like, no, I like it. So too bad. 9.5 out of 10 for Dune Part 2. It's very close to being a masterpiece. There are some stuff in there. And if I were to be just, I would say 9 out of 10. But I'm going to, whatever. I'm going to fanboy out here right now and say 9.5 out of 10 for Dune Part 2, guys. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. I thought it was awesome, and I'm going to go see it again, probably, hopefully, on Saturday, because I just got to do it again. Because I just going to sit in the theater and be like, wow, oh my God, what a pleasure and an honor it is to be in the theater watching Denis Villeneuve's films. And 9.5 out of 10. Dune Part 2. Kudos. All right, guys, if you like what you've seen, come join us here on Mirror Domains, because we do other things here on the channel besides movie reviews. Well, we got Madame Web up there as well, Lisa Frankenstein, but we watch trailers, trailer reactions for Godzilla X Kong, Deadpool and Wolverine, Millie Bobby Brown's new movie, Damsel, trailer reaction, Ariana Grande's Wicked, A Quiet Place Day One, Society of Snow full movie reactions, and of course we do movie news throughout the week where we talk about all the trending movie news headlines of the day. So if you like this kind of stuff, by all means come over here and join us here on Mirror Domains, and I'll see you next time. Go see Dune. Trust me, you'll like it. You'll like it a lot. All right, so that will be cut out and put up on the channel later on. Yeah, 9.5. If I were going to be like totally just, I guess I would probably give it the 9. 9 out of 10. But as I said, you're allowed to fanboy out every now and then, right? And that's what it is. That's what it is. Okay. I feel like I myself am being a little bit washed out. Maybe that my ring light is being too much light on me. Or is it from this side? Yeah, no, it's from this side. I know. Turn it down just a little bit. Did it turn it down? No. There. I did turn it down. Oh well. Whatever. All right. Let's get back into some movie news. Now that that's done, completely out of the way. Talking about Austin Butler in Dune Part 2, he's going to be in The Bike Riders. The Bike Riders. It's got a new trailer out. Now,